Listen for a moment to the shape of the night where you are, and then let it go, and come somewhere far warmer and far older. Somewhere the dark is not quiet at all, but loud. A wall of frogs and insects and things you cannot name, so constant it becomes its own kind of silence. Thank you for carrying your own small hush into mine tonight, and for spending these late hours the way I like to spend them, among old stories, and the people who told them, and the things they were sure were waiting just out of sight. These are the tales from the thin places, the seams in the world where something older than us may still be living, just on the other side. Before we go in under the trees, 2 small kindnesses that keep this channel alive: a like and a tap of subscribe. That is the whole of it, and it is how these slow, deeply researched tellings of forgotten gods and lost lore find the next person sitting up in the dark. And then, if you leave one comment tonight, let it be this: tell me where in the world you are and what the hour is there. I gather those quietly, night after night, and it is a strange comfort to picture the map of everyone awake and listening with me. I came to this one expecting a kind of postcard. In Brazil, these creatures are everywhere, on school book covers, in children's cartoons, paraded as glowing puppets through the June festivals, taught to small children on a national folklore day. I thought I would be telling you the bright, safe, mascot version. What I found underneath was something watchful and rule-bound and much stranger. A forest and a river that are not scenery at all, but persons, with appetites and boundaries, and a whole population of guardians whose real work is to punish the people who take too much. This is one of the very few places where the monsters are on the side of the wild, and the human is the trespasser. That turned the whole thing over for me. Settle in and enjoy. It is the last hour of light, and you are standing where the cleared ground ends and the forest begins. Behind you is everything human: a garden hacked out of the green, a low house, a canoe pulled up on the mud. In front of you, the trees go up and up until they close over into a roof. And beneath that roof, it is already night, though the sky above is still bruised with the day. The air is thick enough to drink. Everything is breathing. And you understand, standing at that edge, that the forest is not a wall you could walk into so much as a body you would be walking inside of, warm and dim and aware. You are going to go in. There's good hunting in there, and you know the first stretch of it well, but the light is nearly gone, and you have been taught, since you were small, the things that live between the trunks in the dark, and the rules for not meeting them. So you stay on your own side of the line a little longer, and you watch the green go black, and you listen. Somewhere in there, something whistles. A short, high, rising note, once, and then again, further off than it should be for the time it took. And you decide, without quite deciding, that tomorrow will do, that the forest can keep its far side tonight. This is the Amazon, the greatest forest on earth, and one of the greatest breeding grounds of monsters the human mind has ever made. And tonight we are going to walk its bestiary, the way we once walked the black beaches of Iceland, first through the trees, among the guardians of the dry land, and then down to the water, to the river spirits who wait in the brown current, and the still black lakes. We will meet the little red-haired thing with its feet on backwards, and the giant with a mouth in its belly, and the fire-serpent that swallowed the eyes of the drowned. And then we will go to the river and meet the woman who sings Men Under, and the pink dolphin who comes ashore in a white hat to steal your daughters, and the great black snake, hundreds of feet long, whose slow body carved the bends of the rivers themselves. But first, it is worth asking why this forest, of all places, grew such a particular and such a moral crop of monsters. Because these are not idle horrors. They have jobs. The oldest layer of them is indigenous, Tupi and Guarani, and the hundreds of peoples of the basin, whose beliefs run back further than any writing we have. The first outsider to set them down was a Jesuit. In the year 1560, a young missionary named José de Anchieta, sitting on the coast of a country the Portuguese had barely begun to understand, wrote a letter home in which he described what the local people feared, a demon they called the Curupira, who struck travelers and hunters in the deep woods, and a thing of fire that slid along the ground in the dark. That letter is the first written record of Brazilian folklore, and both of the creatures in it are with us still, tonight, nearly 5 centuries later. Almost nothing else survives from that world. These monsters did. And onto that indigenous bedrock, colonial Brazil poured 2 more streams. The Portuguese brought their own night terrors. The enchanted Moorish women of the fountains, the sirens of the sea, the shame and the sign of the cross, and the millions of enslaved Africans carried across the ocean brought the water spirits and the shapeshifters and the deep river mothers of West and Central Africa. These 3 inheritances did not sit in tidy layers. They braided. The great folklorist Luis da Câmara Cascudo, who spent his life mapping this in his Dictionary of Brazilian Folklore, showed how a single creature could begin as an indigenous forest demon, take on a Portuguese siren's comb and mirror, and end wearing an African river mother's face, all without anyone deciding it should. Folklore is water. It takes the shape of whatever holds it. So when we go looking for the beasts of the Amazon, we are not looking at fantasy. We are looking at a code, a set of instructions, worn smooth by centuries of retelling for how to live beside a forest that can kill you 100 quiet ways and not be killed. Take only what you need. Do not burn what you cannot use. Do not go to the water alone at dusk. The monsters are the instructions with teeth. Let us begin under the trees, with the oldest of them all, the one in Anchieta's letter, the guardian of the green. Walk in with me now, past the edge you were afraid of, into the first dim gallery of the forest. Somewhere ahead of us, small and quick, something is watching the way we tread. He is not large. That is the first surprise. The Curupira is often no bigger than a child. A small, wild figure, naked, his skin dark, or his whole body burning with hair the color of flame. A shock of red about him, like a coal that has learned to run. In some tellings, his teeth are green, but you will almost never see him, and if you did, you would likely misread the one thing that matters. Look at his feet. They are on backwards. The heels where the toes should be, the toes pointing back the way he came. And that is not a deformity, it is a trap. Because the Curupira is the keeper of the game, the protector of every animal in the forest, and he hates the hunter who takes more than he needs. He guards the mothers and the young especially, the doe heavy with a fawn, the nesting bird, and a man who kills one of those has made an enemy he cannot see. And when that hunter kneels to read the ground, to follow the fresh tracks of the little forest man deeper in, the backwards feet do their work. He follows the toes lead him the wrong way. He walks confidently in exactly the wrong direction, deeper and deeper, until the light is gone and the paths he knew have dissolved, and he is somewhere with no name, turned around, lost in a place that does not want him found. Some who follow the Curupira's whistle are never seen again. Some come stumbling out days later, hollow-eyed, unable to say quite what they saw. The whistle itself is another snare, that short rising note, thrown so it always sounds a little further off, always just ahead, always worth one more step. But here's the thing I keep coming back to about the Curupira, the thing that makes him more than a bogey. He can be bargained with. Leave him tobacco, the old people say. Leave him a little cachaça, a gift at the foot of a great tree, and ask his leave before you hunt, and take only one animal, and only because your family is hungry, and he will let you pass, and may even drive the game toward you. He is not cruel. He is fair, in the exact way the forest is fair. He punishes greed and waste and cruelty to the helpless, and he rewards restraint. 500 years ago, in a letter that is otherwise all fire and demons, that little backwards-footed figure was already teaching the one lesson this whole forest teaches. Take what you need. Leave the rest. Ask first. Go deeper, though, and the forest keeps things that will not bargain. There is a smell first. Long before you see it, if you ever see it, you smell the Mapinguari, a stench so thick and so foul that grown men have described being physically unable to stand, their heads swimming, their stomachs turning, rooted to the spot by their reek of it alone. And then, through the trees, it comes. It is enormous, reared up on its hind legs, 7, 8, 9 feet of it, and covered head to foot in long matted reddish hair, so dense and so caked that the old accounts swear no arrow and no bullet can pass through it. It moves slowly. It does not need to hurry, and when it turns its great head toward you, you see, in many of the tellings, that there is only one eye in it, a single eye set in the middle, like the Cyclops of a Greek story that these people had never read. And below that, where a chest and a belly should be, the horror completes itself. A second mouth, a great vertical gash of a mouth, opening and closing in its stomach. That is how it feeds. That is what the smell is for. To stun you where you stand, so that the belly can do the rest. There is one way to kill it, and only one. The hair turns everything, but the belly is soft, unarmored, the one place the hide does not cover. A spear or an arrow to the mouth in its stomach, if your hands are steady enough and your nerve holds, which it very likely will not. Everywhere else, you are wasting the shot. Now, 2 things about the Mapinguari that lift the hair on my own neck. The first is the old origin the deep forest people told before the 20th century tidied it up. The Mapinguari, they said, was once a man, a shaman, a knower of secrets who reached too far, who found the forbidden knowledge of how never to die, and the forests, or the spirits, or God, would not allow it. So they gave him his wish in the cruelest form. They let him live forever, but they took his humanity away piece by piece and left him this, a deathless, stinking, one-eyed thing, blundering through the trees for centuries, unable to die and unable to be anything but alone. Immortality as a punishment. The oldest fear granted and made hideous. And the second thing, in 1994, a respected American biologist named David Oren went into the Amazon in genuine scientific earnest, chasing the Mapinguari because the details nagged at him. A giant, reared up on its hind legs, reddish hair, a hide that turns weapons, soft only at the belly. He thought the description sounded less like a demon and more like a memory of the giant ground-sloth, a creature the size of an elephant that reared up to browse the high branches, whose skin was studded with little bony plates like armor, leaving only the belly bare, and which walked the South American forests until, by the reckoning of science, around 10,000 years ago, around the time the first people arrived. Oren never found a living one, and most scientists think he never could, but sit with the possibility for a moment that the stench-wrapped giant in the deepest story these people tell might be the last worn-down echo of a real animal, that human beings and that beast overlapped, just barely, long enough for the terror to be caught and kept and handed down, mouth to mouth, for 10,000 years, until it washed up in a folktale about a shaman who would not die. We did the same thing in Iceland, with the whale. The oldest monsters so often turn out to be the truest memories. There is one more guardian of the dry land, and it is made of fire. Picture the forest at true night now, the canopy shut, no moon reaching the floor, and across that blackness, low to the ground, a line of fire comes sliding. Not a torch, nothing carrying it, a long burning, snaking thing, pouring itself over the roots and the leaf litter, and where its head should be there are two eyes like the risen sun, so bright they can blind a man who looks straight into them. This is the Boitatá, the fire-serpent, and it is the fiery thing that Anchieta saw described in that same letter of 1560, sliding over the ground in the dark. Its origin is one of the strangest and most beautiful in all of this. In the beginning, they say, there came a great flood, a drowning of the whole world, and with the flood a long, endless night, weeks of black water in which the animals died in their thousands, unable to find dry ground or light. And one great serpent survived, because it did a terrible thing. It went among the drowned, and it fed, not on the flesh, but on the eyes. It ate the eyes of the dead animals and the dead men, thousands upon thousands of them, and each eye still held a little trapped light, the last light each creature had seen. And all that borrowed light gathered inside the serpent's body until it began to glow, until the snake itself became a lantern of stolen sight, burning from within with the last vision of everything the flood had taken. when the waters finally fell, the Boitatá remained. It could not go back into the dark, and now it slides through the night forests, blazing, and it hunts the one thing it cannot forgive: those who set fire to the land, those who burn the forest, who torch the fields for no reason, who bring flame where flame should not go. The Boitatá finds them and coils around them and burns them to ash from the outside as it burns forever from within. Think about what that story is for. Think about who told it and to whom. It is a law against burning the forest, written 10,000 years before anyone called it conservation, enforced by a monster made entirely of the light of everything that fire and flood had already killed. You could not invent a more exact guardian if you tried. So that is the green, the little red keeper who turns you around, the deathless giant who stuns you with his stench, and the serpent of stolen fire who guards the land against the torch. But the forest is only half of this world. The other half, the older half, the deeper fear, is the water. Come down with me now, out from under the trees, to where the ground turns to mud, and the mud turns to river, and the river runs brown and slow and enormous toward a sea that is 1,000 miles away. Because in the Amazon, the water is everything. It is the road. There are no other roads. It is the larder. It is the boundary of every life lived along it. And it is, above all, the thing that takes people, silently, often, without a body or a reason. A child gone from the bank. A fisherman who did not come home. And when the water takes and will not say why, the mind does what it always does. It gives the taking a face. And the first face it gives the Amazon water is a beautiful one. She sits on a rock at the river's edge in the green gold light of late afternoon, and she is combing her long hair. Sometimes the hair is black, like the people of the river. Sometimes, in the versions that met the Portuguese sirens, it has gone impossibly green or gold, and her eyes with it. Below the waist, in some tellings, she is a fish. In others, she is wholly only a woman, which is somehow worse, and she is singing. That is the danger. The song. It comes across the water in the heavy afternoon heat, low and sweet and unbearably lovely, and a man who hears it stops whatever he is doing and turns toward it, and begins, without any will of his own, to walk down into the river. This is the Iara, the mother of the waters, from the old Tupi words for water and lady. And she does not need to seize you. You go to her. You wade out, smiling, toward the singing until the brown water closes over your face, and then you are hers, down in the cold, forever. The Iara has a history that tells you exactly how this folklore was made. She did not begin as a woman at all. The oldest layer of her is a creature called the Ipupiara, a fishman, a monstrous male thing that dragged people under the water and drowned them, ate them, a straightforward horror of the deep. But over the centuries, as the Portuguese siren songs and the enchanted Moorish maidens and the European mermaid all poured into the same river, the Ipupiara changed sex and softened and grew beautiful and became the Iara we know, the seductress on the rock, drowning men not with claws but with longing. You can watch 3 continent spheres fuse into one woman. And underneath the beauty, the original meaning never left. The river is deep, and the river drowns you, and it will do it while you are happiest, while you are walking toward something you want. But the most beloved and the most unsettling of all the water spirits is not a woman. It is a dolphin. There's a real animal in these rivers, the Boto, the Amazon river dolphin. Pink-skinned, blunt-faced, strange and gentle, and genuinely there, swimming past your canoe in the brown water. They are born gray and turn pink as they age, the biggest, oldest males, the pinkest of all. And the story the river tells about them is this. On the night of a festa, a party, music, lamplight by the water, the young people dancing, a stranger arrives, a man no one quite knows, tall and beautifully dressed, all in white, courteous, an extraordinary dancer, impossibly charming. He pays attention to the loveliest young woman there, and she to him, and the night goes on. There's only one odd thing about him, and it is the reason he never, ever takes it off. His white hat. He keeps it on through everything, low on his brow, because under it, if you could lift it, you would find not hair, but a blowhole, still in the top of his head, the one part of the transformation that never completes. He is the Boto. He has come up out of the river and put on the shape of a man for a single night. And before the dawn, he will lead the young woman down to the water, and she will follow him under into the Encante, the enchanted city beneath the river, all light and music and endless celebration, from which, the stories say, no one truly comes back. And here is where the folklore does its oldest, saddest, most human work. For generations, along these rivers, when a young unmarried woman found herself pregnant and would not or could not name the father, there was an answer that the whole community would accept without another question. It was the Boto. The child was Fiho de Boto, a child of the pink dolphin, fathered by the enchanted thing from the river on a festa night. And that story, whatever else it was a mercy and a shield. It covered over things that could not be spoken. A lover who would not stay. A man who should never have been let near her. A violence with a human face. And it gave the woman and the child a place to stand. A story the village would honor rather than shame. The gentle pink dolphin still swimming past the canoes, carrying the weight of every secret the river was asked to keep. To this day, in places, a fisherman will not harm a Boto. It is bad luck, they say, but it is more than luck. It is respect for the one who takes the blame. And then, beneath the woman and the dolphin, beneath all of it, in the deepest channels and the black lakes where the light does not reach, there is the great snake. The Cobra Grande, the Boiúna, the black serpent, from the Tupi again, snake and black. She is not a normal animal and never was. She is hundreds of feet long, so vast that fishermen mistake her for a sandbank until the sandbank moves. And at night, her eyes show above the water as two burning lamps. And more than one canoe has steered gratefully toward what it took to be an approaching boat, its friendly lights coming closer in the dark, only to be lifted and rolled and swallowed by the thing the lights belong to. She can take other shapes when it suits her. A phantom ship that glides the wrong way against the current. A beautiful woman on the bank. She capsizes canoes for the pleasure of it, and she is old enough and vast enough that some say she made the rivers themselves, that when the Boiúna wakes from her long sleep and drags her enormous body through the drowned land, the furrow she leaves fills with water, and that is why the Amazon's rivers wander the way they do, in their endless serpentine curves. The bends of the river are the memory of the snake. But the great snake has a gentler shadow, and I want to end the water with it, because it is the story that made a poet. In the lower Amazon, they tell of a woman who bore twins by the river. Twin serpents, a boy and a girl. The girl, Maria, was wicked from birth, cruel to animals and people alike, and they called her Maria Caninana. But the boy was good, and his name was Norato, which on the river, said quickly and lovingly, became Norato. Cobra Norato. He grew into an enormous snake, like his sister, but he hated what he was, and in the end he killed her for her cruelty, and then he wanted only one thing, to be free of the serpent's skin, to be a man. And there was a way. He could shed the great snake and stand up as a young man in white, but only for a little while, and only fully if a brave person would help him. He needed someone unafraid to come to him where he lay in his snake form and pour milk into his mouth and strike him hard across the head with a blade that had never been used. Most were too frightened. The milk without the blow, or the blow without the milk, and the enchantment held. But in the tellings where a soldier finally found the nerve to do both, the milk and the clean hard strike, the skin split and fell away, and Cobra Norato stepped out of it a man at last, disenchanted, free, a monster who did not want to be one, a snake who spent his whole long life trying to become human and needed a stranger's courage to finish it. In 1931, a young Brazilian poet named Raul Bop took that river story and made it into one of the strangest and most beautiful poems his country ever produced. A man walking down into the green, into the drowned land, following the snake. The folklore of the river became the literature of a nation. That is what these creatures are worth. So there is the bestiary of the Amazon, land and water both, and if you lay them out side by side, the little keeper who turns the greedy hunter around, the fire-serpent who burns those who burn the forest, the mother of the waters who drowns the man walking toward what he wants, the dolphin who shoulders the village's secrets, the great snake who wanted only to be human. You start to see the single thing underneath all of them. These are not random horrors. Almost every one of them is a rule. Do not take more than you need. Do not burn the green. Do not go careless to the water. Do not be cruel to the small and the young. And running under all of it, the deepest instruction of all. The forest and the river are not yours. They were here first. They are watching, and they keep their own law. It is one of the very few folk systems in the world where the monsters are, in the end, the good guys, where the thing in the dark is not out to get you unless you have earned it, where the wild defends itself, and the trespasser is the human being with the axe, and the torch, and the two-full net, which is why I think these creatures feel less like fairy tales now than they did even a generation ago. Because we know now what happens to a forest when there is no Curupira turning the hunters around, No Boitatá coming for the ones who set the fires. We are watching it happen. The old people put a guardian at every threshold, the tree line, the riverbank, the burning field, because they understood, in the marrow, that a place that generous and that fragile needed defending, and they could not always be there to defend it. So they filled it with things that could. Whether or not you believe in the little red-haired man with his feet on backwards, the belief did a job. It kept people humble at the edge of something vast, and you could do a great deal worse, standing where the cleared ground ends and the green begins, than to feel, just for a moment, that you are being watched, and to take only what you need, and to ask its leave before you go in. Let the fire burn down now. Out there, the forest is still breathing its wall of sound, the frogs and the insects and the far-off things. And the river is running black and slow and enormous under a sky with no moon, carrying its secrets down toward a sea 1,000 miles away. The guardians are all still at their posts, the keeper in the trees, the fire on the ground, the mother of the waters combing her hair on her rock, the great snake dreaming the curves of the river. None of them are looking for you. You took only what you needed. You asked before you went in. So let yourself sink down now, gently, into the warm dark, and let the sound of all that living carry you under, the way the river carries everything under in the end. Thank you for spending this long green hour with me, here in the thin places. Sleep well, and good night.